Mori ore te whānau, no mai, hoki mai, welcome on in or welcome back to the 99Dreams podcast. As always, I'm your host, Rawiri, and we always try to scour to bring you guys the best guests. And today is no different. We've got an amazing photographer. Of course, have to bring in another Māori because we just love to lift up our Māori whānau. And the brother's located down there in Christchurch. So, without further ado, e te iwi, let's welcome on brother Max Tiweka. Kia ora mai e hoa, welcome on the show.
O tēnā koe e hoa, ngā mihi.
Brother, thank you so much for jumping on, and we truly do appreciate it. But before we begin, can you just give us a bit of a kōwai nō wai, who you are and where you're from?
Yeah, ka pai. Well, tēnā tātou e te iwi, ko wai hoki tēnei, ko Max Tiweka tōku ingoa, hiuri hauno kaitahu kā te māmoe waitaha me ngā rauru hoki ki te tahu tōku pāpā. Yeah, kia ora, I'm Max. Yeah, descend from, on my mother's side, from the lines of Ngaitahu and all the different iwi and, you know, whānau that we've got down here. Then on my father's side, whakapapa back to Ngā Rauru ki Tahi, around South Taranaki area. So, yeah, shout out to them. Sure.
Yeah, love the Taranaki maunga up in here. We love that Taranaki maunga up in here. Myself, Te Atiawa Taranaki me Ngāti Maru. So, always got love for our Taranaki whānau up on this podcast, my bro.
100%.
One question I would like to ask is the most common perception about Ōtautahi or Christchurch is that it's not the most Māori of places in all of Aotearoa. What was it like growing up down there as a Māori in Ōtautahi?
Well, it was actually, it wasn't until I was kind of like at high school and just leaving high school that I realized I was growing up being Māori in a not very Māori place. I think my origins was kind of like it's, I don't know, like I grew up North Canterbury area, quite rural, played rugby out there, went to primary school out there as well, and then went into the city to go to high school. And honestly, like not being raised with the language or really even knowing where I'm from, that was kind of the norm for lots of Māori there. So we kind of all had this kind of like this kind of look about us, but also didn't really talk and walk in the ways that Māori did. But, you know, that kind of led us into some interesting situations. You get some funny conversations with people when they don't realize that you're Māori, and then you're just like, hey, what's going on there? But, you know, I guess it's different, but it's also kind of, there's probably a lot of relatable situations to all over the motu as well. But yeah.
100%. And it's funny when you find yourself in those situations. I don't think so much these days. I think a lot of people are very understanding that not all of us Māori are as brown as we would want to be. So you find yourself, you know, in a slight awkward position, like, oh, aroha mai, my cousin, I'm Māori too, my bro. And they're like, oh, shucks. How did you sort of navigate those situations?
I'd say that a lot of what it would be a very different situation if I was able to kind of rely on Māoritanga and be able to use te reo, be able to use like the fact that I'll go back to my marae and things like that back in the day, but that really wasn't there. So there was quite a lot of, I guess, dealing with it in ways that you'd quite often see with, you know, the whole intergenerational trauma things, you know, not really able to assign this kind of feeling that you're getting from the interaction with the people, like to anything that really makes sense until, you know, later in life when you realize like, oh, shucks, actually, I was put into that situation because like I had my culture and my language taken away from me for, you know, a couple of generations, and now I'm left to pick up the pieces, and that's a massive thing to pick up. But, you know, it's kind of the perspective that I've got on it now. But back in the day, bro, it was, you know, just being hotutues, just, you know, hanging out with some buzzy peeps, but, you know, it's kind of, yeah, it's just out the gate kind of stuff, you know.
Oh, 100%, cuz. 100%. Hey, as they say, all rivers lead home eventually. It is quite a big task when you think about it like that. Like, that's a huge take, trying to not revive the language for your whānau, but it sort of pick up the pieces that were taken away from our tupuna as such. So that's a huge take to take on. But I think this generation, especially in today's day, we have so many tools available to us, and there are so many initiatives out there to support Māori coming through there. This is our era. This is our time to reclaim our mana. We didn't cede sovereignty, so this is our rights.
Yeah, 100%, bro. Yeah, like myself being, I guess I hear people talk about being a product of kohanga reo and kura kaupapa, which wasn't my route, but me being a kind of a product of, I guess, I don't even know what you call it. I guess I went to Te Wānanga o Aotearoa, so a product of, seeking that extra help to be able to regain the language, but also just a product of, te ao hiko, te ao matahiko, the world of ever changing, the digital world, I guess some people label it as. So having something like your phone just at your fingertips, you're able to pick up, all kinds of resources. And that's been a massive help for me on my reclamation journey, getting reconnected.
Brotherhood, like you say, having all that information at our fingertips and being able to build communities in the digital age, bro, it's wicked. It helps out so much.
Yeah, 100%.
In terms of Te Wānanga o Aotearoa, how long did you go there for? What was that like?
Yeah, so I studied up to Te Aupikitanga, which is level 6, I think. But yeah, started the journey what would have been 2019, I think. Sorry, a cop car's about to go past. Really out here, man,
In the ghetto.
Yeah. But yeah, started. Yeah, I think it was about 2019. Te Ara Reo Māori, just basic as beginnings. The R's, your E's, the E's, the O's, the O's, all that kind of stuff. And that journey was like really cool. But I heard someone mention about kind of what it's like for a Māori to be relearning their language the other day, and it's like it actually opened my eyes to my own journey and like let me reflect on it for a second. It's like all these people that are super excited about learning this language, and they're like, oh yeah, I got it, and then you see the light bulbs going off, and that's like awesome, and like we get that too. But then there's also this like other side of it. It's like, oh, we shouldn't have to go through this at the same time. So it's like, oh, you also get this like kind of feeling of like guilt, but not guilt. It's all over the place. But that's that whole intergenerational trauma stuff that you have to hash out and go through. And I guess when you go through it, it's like super rewarding. It's never something that's like you should shy away from necessarily. It's more like you go in there, you get that rewarding feeling, and you like reclaim that, and it should be like mana enhancing as, that's me.
Fatherhood. That's yeah, all those feelings that you talk about is what I'm currently going through. Where I work, I get to learn te reo at the same time. So I work for Te Atarangi ki te Kāhui Maunga up here in Taranaki.
Yeah.
And so I'm in that beginner stage, but it's crack up. So I've over the past year, we've been learning from he, te, me, ngā, all the way through to matawa at the moment. But it's crack up because my uncle who runs it was like, oh, now you're learning it, you might as well teach it. So I'm a kai whirinaki as well. Which, bro, you see those moments where the light bulb just turns on and everyone just clicks, and they realize that all this scaffolding learning has just put them in this moment where everything clicks, and they just go, wow, I didn't realize that this was what I'm capable of. I struggled in the beginning with going he rā ko kōwhai. Right up to now, I'm like, ko te hauwha mai ki te ono matawa te wā, stuff like that. So it's like that's those moments that when you see it click for other people, you just go, yeah, that's what it's all about. But then, like you say, on that flip side, hey, bro, you've got that raru with the we shouldn't be having to do this.
Yeah, definitely. I think like we had a couple of classes with some people doing, using the Te Atarangi rākau and that. And bro, that was like one of my favorite classes, Like I'm real keen on creating a safe space for people to learn, which is something that I realized through learning at Te Wānanga o Aotearoa. Like they're really good at doing things like that, and how much better it is when people feel safe and they can take a moment to breathe, and they're not going to be tested and ripped to shreds if they get something wrong, because back in the day that might have been how people experienced schools. But like that was like a really cool thing for me, sitting down with the sticks, and each of us have the chance to kind of like repeat what the last person said, and we all kind of learn together. It's yeah, it's probably one of my favorite ways of learning. To be honest, bro, it was me.
Brotherhood, like we say, it's all about creating a safe space for people to come and just feel like they're accepted and they belong, regardless of if they mess it up. Because learning te reo shouldn't be scary. It should be fun. It should be engaging. You should be, whakamana to come in and just give it everything you've got. And if you get it wrong, so do I. I get it wrong heaps.
Yeah. Hard out, bro. They keep on saying to us like, "No mai ngā hapa," like bring all your, the things that you get wrong. Don't let that be an obstacle. That's all just part of it. Because if you've got people there that kind of understand that you're learning, then you're sweet. Just say whatever you want. As long as you're doing it with like the intention to say something or get a point across, you'll get there.
Brotherhood. And like my uncle says, you learn best from the mistakes that you make. So make mistakes. Mess it up 1,000 times, because 1,001 time and you crack it, that's that feeling, eh? That's that feeling you just can't let go. What would be some advice you'd give to people who are, on the verge of wanting to learn te reo, and, not what's something that you could say to someone to hopefully push them into coming to learn te reo?
I think like it's tough because like depending on what your situation is, like you might have had moments where you have started to learn te reo, or like you might have been in school during a time where you start to learn how to count to 10 or whatever it is. So I think everybody has a level of understanding of it, but I think it was really apparent to me when I went out, went on a bit of an OE and was able to kind of really understand what language means to people, depending on where they're from, and how much of it's like an awesome tool it is. You go into like we had the chance to go over to France, and everybody there pretty much is able to speak English, but like they would prefer that you spoke French to them, but they also don't want you to speak to them in English like they're stupid, like they don't understand. So it's like this fun little game of like, you learn heaps about a culture. It's pretty massive. But in terms of advice, I'd just say like take your time. Like there's no rush. Once you get on the waka, there's no getting off, and that's not a scary thing. That's just how life goes. Like you start going, and then maybe you kind of pull over for a break for a bit, but next thing you know, like the world that we're in these days, te reo Māori is going to be everywhere. So you might as well jump on the waka.
Hey, don't get left behind, e te iwi, jump in now. There's spaces.
100%.
That's some beautiful advice there, my brother, and I appreciate that. Which also helps us segue into this next thing, because I've looked at your Instagram, my bro. You've been all over the motu. What was that like? What's the the feeling of experiencing overseas travel like?
It's hard to kind of like make sense of, really, but like the thing that kind of resonated with me when people ask me how it was is like, how if you see like you watch a movie and you're like, oh man, that's a famous person right there, like Jason Momoa, and then you bump into him at like some crazy spot where you're like, here he's just down the road or something. You're like, well, that's crazy. It's like that, but like you've seen these places like growing up, you've heard of these like different areas, and the Louvre and the Eiffel Tower. You go to Greece and got all these old monuments and buildings and things like that. You hear about all these places, and then you wake up there and it's like you're meeting like a famous person every day. It's so mean. So yeah, I definitely recommend travel to anybody that's out there like thinking about it now that we can. Post COVID, everybody's kind of sorted stuff out. Get out there and experience stuff. Hey, it's cool.
That's on. Oh, okay then. If you were, let's go with like a 15-day trip through Europe, or maybe we'll go a full month. We'll go a full month through Europe. Yep. What's the itinerary? What are you recommending to people? Where are we going? What are we doing?
Well, this was, I guess, my second trip, but like first time actually being able to travel around and do stuff under our own steam, and definitely like Paris was so on. Like the going to the Louvre, definitely. Honestly, the Eiffel Tower is like actually kind of overrated. I'm not gonna lie. It might be cool if they've been like looking to go see it, but like you go there and it's like there it is, cool. But like the Louvre is insane. Like for ages, I thought that it was just the triangle thing. I thought there was just a little moment in the middle, and then you go in there and you realize it's the whole building's all the way around it, and like there's levels and levels of like amazing little artifact things, and you just look at things, and you're like, how is that possible? But also while you're in there, don't worry about Mona Lisa. Like it's just like just go see the other cool stuff that's around. All these other things that you can kind of connect to a little bit more. But, yeah.
I heard that's not even the real Mona Lisa.
Oh, true. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, bro. Like, but yeah, there's some amazing stuff over there, bro. Paris is mean, but also I really like Barcelona, or Barcelona, I think they pronounce it as. And my reason being like the food is insane. Like you go anywhere, anytime, you're like within 5 steps of like a main spot for like sangria, or like they have vermouth and stuff there too, good drinks. But then also like paella and just like amazing seafood dishes, and so good. Yeah, I loved it. So me.
You had me at Kai, brother. You had me at Kai.
Always.
So we got Barcelona, we got Paris. Where else?
I definitely recommend doing like Italy. We did quite a few spots in Italy. If I'm following that same trend of like potentially overrated places, Venice. I'm not gonna lie, it was cool for a day, and then we were like, okay, well, where to next? But not to say like, I sound like real fucking swearing.
Is it because they're too touristy?
yeah. But like you kind of go there and you're like, okay, cool, this is crazy. Like you look at the engineering aspects of it and stuff, and that's real cool. But then you realize that you're kind of spending time in this place that's kind of the same quite a bit. Whereas like if you go to a place like, we went to Siena, bro. Siena is mean. Florence is mean as well. But Siena was crazy because we turned up during this, what was it called? It was like Contrada de Siena or something like that. And it's like the oldest horse race known to man. Like that's like the most crazy, like they go through this like big square that's normally you just walk through it, and then all of a sudden it was just filled with people, and there's these horses boosting it around this like concrete floor square, and bro, it's insane. Like they like people go crazy for this. Like it's like neighborhoods all coming together and like cheering on the horse from their neighborhood and stuff. That's freaking cool way. That's real awesome.
Ouch. So we got a few good spots there, Fano, if you want to go check it out. If you ever get the travel bug, hit up these spaces. Bro, that's mean.
Yeah.
So which was your most favorite to film and photograph?
Oh, that's a good question, actually. I think probably. Oh, yeah, that's tough. Everywhere was mean. Like the thing is, like everywhere you look is like these amazing buildings that have been standing for so long, and like everything is all perfectly lined up. There's a reason that they built them and they stand for so long, is because like everything's just so nice looking. But yeah, I think like photography wise, shucks, I reckon. Santorini would have been sick if we had like good weather. So it was like we had like one night where it was just amazing, but then the rest of the time it was like kind of like average kind of weather, which was still cool. Like we were in an amazing spot and we had mean feeds and always good kai. But yeah, that spot there is like picturesque as like everywhere you look is just amazing. But yeah, it's hard to pick a favorite, bro. It's real hard.
Fair enough, brother. Fair enough. Everyone who's like really in tune with their craft, it's like telling a father or a mother to pick their favorite child. Yeah. Well, it should be pretty hard to select. Some parents might be, I
don't know. Sometimes I feel like there's some parents that are like, this one here. I know with me and my brothers, there was potentially a couple that were at least favorites.
Yeah. I think it's seasonal.
Yeah, 100%.
Which, then, I'll ask this. It might end up being the same answer, but I'll ask this. Which is the one photograph that you've taken that just sits pride of place in your heart? Like, what's that one shot that you've captured that you just like, yeah, this is it?
Ooh, yeah, tough. On the trip or just in general?
Just in general throughout all your time as a photographer.
Um, I think there's been a couple moments where I've been on a kaupapa where like I think it definitely has to be one from home. So like we've been on a kaupapa and actually I went on a trip called Te Hekeka earlier on this year, and like the group that we had there, we all were able to kind of like mesh together, and it's not often that like we have, how many do we have? We've got like 30, 40 people all on this hiding it together. It got like hectic as because of like the weather all coming in and like screwing up our ferry trips and stuff like that. So we had to go in like the middle of the night, crazy stuff. But everybody was on the same buzz. Everybody was real stoked. So that's a bit of a backstory to the trip. And then we get to this point where I more or less grew up. Like I knew this place. Like, you know, I've been there multiple times. But I hadn't been there with the perspective that this trip had given me. So I kind of realized like how much importance this place has. And I took this one photo where we were all collectively, all of us had all these different walks of life and stuff, but our main thing was that we're all trying to reconnect to our kaitahutaka. So we were out there for this kind of mahi kakai kind of food gathering session, I guess, and little morning session of gathering kai, and took this photo. And it was like, I don't know, just the way that there was someone in the front, there's like obviously doing the mahi kakai practice, and then in the back there's all these others as well, and then knowing all of their stories, like I was like, far out, this is crazy. Like we're all in this picture that looks like it could have been taken like way back in the day because we're doing all these old practices and stuff, but we just decided to go for a drive that morning and start doing some mahi kakai. And I think for me it was like far out, it's still in our DNA. Like that's what that picture kind of represented to me. It was like these practices, the ways of living and things that make us feel like we're home. Like that was just in that picture. I was like, far out, this is cool.
Oh, that's been, see, I love, for me, throughout my whole university career, it's always been about pūrākau, you know, those different stories. And I love that with that picture, you've got this whole narrative, that whole experience that you all together lived it. And you get to relive that through this image. That's amazing. Is, in your opinion, that what photography is all about? Is just capturing those moments, those memories of transporting you back in time?
Yeah, I reckon, bro. Like it's definitely that, and just like the fact that you can kind of be there to capture that moment as well. Um, but also, I think being in these spaces, I've really found a massive benefit in like not capturing them as well, which is a weird thing for a photographer to say. And there are a couple moments where it's just like, okay, cool. It's more important that I'm actually present rather than like through a lens. That's definitely been something that I'm understanding a little bit more now because, or in particular, this trip really highlighted the fact that I'm really on kaupapa working all the time rather than like actually like delving into it and being part of the kaupapa. Um, so I think that's probably for me photography. It's being at the right place at the right time with the right thing, whether or not it's the camera or whether or not it's just being there like with yourself. Yeah, because I like we haven't even seen this photo that I'm speaking about, but the fact that I'm able to kind of like speak to the experience of it, I feel like that's more like photography, capturing the moment, whether you took the picture or not.
Oh, I love that, bro. Like, I really do, because I'm not really one to take much photos. Like, now I have to, obviously, with this brand thing that we're going on. I just always forget. But which was going to be a lead on question is, how do you manage that? You know, what do you decide to take, and what do you decide to just live and be in that moment and experience that lived experience?
Yeah, I think if I'm being paid to be somewhere, I probably should be taking photos. So that's probably the first point of call. Like if I'm being paid to be there, I'll be looking like I'm working at least. But like as a hobby, if I'm there taking photos because I enjoy it, and then I kind of take a moment to realize like I'm actually here, be present for a bit. I think it's always been reflective on where you are, your place in space, and the people around you as well, and why you take photos. Like having a good why is important no matter what you do. Like if you're learning te reo, if you're being creative, if you're choosing a different path to go down, like why you're doing it is the thing that you're going to hold on to when things get tough. So if there's a moment where I think to myself, like, why am I taking this photo? I can't answer that question, then potentially I'll put it down. Unless I've got someone dinging the doorbell.
Uber Eats.
Yeah. Unless, of course, someone's paying you, then probably just, do the job.
I mean, that's some great advice, though. Is definitely fun. If you don't have that why, probably don't do it.
Yeah.
Where I was going to go to next is, how did you, when was it that photography was the thing for you when it became that passion that you just were like, I want to hone in on this and take it to another level?
It's a funny one, because so I guess to give a bit of backstory, leaving high school, in Christchurch we had the earthquakes and stuff like that, and there was a bit of a rebuild going on, and that was about the time that I was looking at employment, and I was like, where am I going to go with my life? What's my angle? And turned out that like I jumped into engineering, did that for a bit, studied that for a bit, and just because it seemed like a smart idea. But pretty quickly found that like I don't want to be an engineer. Like no offense to any engineers out there, but I found it really, really tricky, boring. But that's just kind of I didn't realize that I had a choice really. Like I was like, oh, told to go into this area. This is a good idea. This is safe. You can do this. I'm like, yeah, cool. Jumped in there, started doing it. I could do it, but it was going to take a lot more effort than I feel like it was probably worth in my mind. And I just took a kind of like, again, just reflecting on where I was at, my place in space, realized I found three things that I really wanted out of employment. So one being I wanted to be able to reconnect with my culture. Engineering in a way did that, but I feel like I didn't have as much control over it as I wanted. The other thing being I wanted to travel a bit, so being able to travel New Zealand, travel the world, and the last thing being creative. And I just landed on like taking photos and videos and stuff just purely because I couldn't really draw. Like I do stick figures and stuff, I guess, but like if I can buy a camera that's real mean, then that'll do. And kind of found that like the tech side of things as well. So like in my spare time, I love playing video games. Like video games is my jam. Like always doing that as much as possible, and just found like there's a really cool like side mission in video games that's like the technology part of things. So like start looking at building PCs and like, oh, I need this to be able to match up with this, and putting these pieces together. It felt really like the problem solving aspects of it, and then that kind of like the love for technology and how that is a tool that can enhance things, and that really pushed me in that direction to start looking at cameras and like what's the best camera I can buy, what's the best drone I can buy. And I was lucky enough to be working full time, so like pretty much every spare penny that I got, every spare cent that I got was spent on technology, cameras and drones and things like that. And I just kind of fell into that, and through some really cool networking sessions, I guess, got recommended I speak to one of the bros at Ariki Creative, so where I'm currently working. And it was the most like crazy situation because like for so long I was in this really professional world where you turn up wearing like a shirt and like nice pants and shoes and stuff, and you're meant to look a certain way and act a certain way. And when you apply for a job, you have a CV and you talk about your experience and you build yourself up to be the thing that these people want. And then I turned up to this dude's like office, and he was like, "Oh, you keen? Okay, mean." And then doing a job. I was like, "Yeah, definitely. What the heck?" I thought this was going to be like way harder to like follow my dreams. It's meant to be way harder than this. What the heck? But like, honestly, if I was putting it down to just that moment, it sounds easy, but really like the build up to it, what I had to go through to be able to find the thing that I wanted to do to pursue that. Yeah, I guess that's the hard bit that I didn't realize I was really doing for a reason. Just, my why was always to have those three things, those boxes ticked, and have a better life for myself and hopefully for people around me, and just always leaving this place better than how I found it.
100%, brother. That's what it's all about, right? Is finding the things that you're passionate about, and find ways to make that a reality for you. It might not happen overnight, but when that does click, and when you do finally get that opportunity to showcase your talents in your chosen area that you're passionate about, you'll never work another day in your life, because you're doing the things you're passionate about, and someone pays you to do it. It's a winning situation.
100%.
Like
Yeah.
like you said, you work the job to fund your passion, and once that passion starts funding your life, then you've won. That's all you can really ask for in life, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's always good to be doing something. You're not going to be able to really chase your dreams as fast as you want to if you're like waiting for opportunities. So it's really about like, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So in the meantime, I'll just do this until I find the thing that I want to do. Because so much pressure is put on like myself when I was in high school, but I'd imagine the kids in high school and primary school nowadays as well. Like, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? And it's like, well, if I could answer that, then life's pretty simple, really. Like if I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and there are people out there that they know what subjects to select to be able to go to university to do the right, that kind of pathway. But for me, I was just confused as, didn't know really what I wanted to do, just turn up to school for lunch and, that's about it. But, it's, you just kind of put the time in and you work and you get money and then you go and do other stuff, I guess. I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that one.
Oh, nah, brother. It's like that, though. You just try out 1,000 different things. If you're still in high school, you don't know what you're up to. All goods.
Yeah.
No one does. No one should.
Yeah.
You've got ages. Go figure it out. Travel. I don't know. Take a gap year.
Yeah.
Go skiing. Do something. You'll find what you're passionate about, or it'll come to you.
Yeah.
And then when it does, it's all about just consistency, staying consistent with it, and a little bit of luck. A little bit of luck doesn't help. Doesn't hurt. Sorry.
Yeah.
Get you in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
You say it a lot in this interview about reflection. How important has having the ability to just step back and reflect on situations helped you to get to where you are today?
Yeah, it's been massive for sure. I think it's an important thing to always make sure that you're heading in the direction that you're wanting to as well. Quite often, if you're not really standing for anything, then you'll fall for anything as well. So when you look at where you've been, then it's a very Māori thing to understand where our people have been, and who you descend from, all the way back to the separation of Rangi and Papa. It's all about knowing where you're from, because that can give you the confidence to take that next step. So reflection is like, I feel like it's just the most like indigenous, like natural thing to be able to do. When you can apply it to your everyday life, and you kind of recognize, like the decisions that you make aren't really just on a whim. Like there's a lot of, I guess, pushes and pulls in different directions, and when things come together in the right way, then it's a result of all of your previous decisions, I guess. So unless you take that moment to reflect, then you kind of float around a little bit. So it solidifies things, I reckon, for reflection.
And I agree too. It's nice to slow down and take that step back every now and then, because life happens so fast, especially when you're always on the go and you got kaupapa after kaupapa, and you're just trying to make everything happen all at once. Yeah, it is nice to take that step back, reflect, look at how far you've come to be in the situation that you're in now.
Yeah, bro, hard out. Like, I would love to say that I'm good at it as well. Like, even though I reference it heaps, like, if I'm reflecting on how much I reflect, then potentially I need to reflect more. I don't know, but it's. I wish I could say that I'm good at that kind of stuff, because then I feel like I'd be a bit more aware of like potential things that could pop up. Creative fatigue, or if you start to realize that you're putting yourself too much into a certain place at the right time, that's where reflection helps. But potentially there's some times where I just miss that, and you get a wee bit too stuck in the ways, and the 9 to 5 just kind of becomes a grind again, and then you actually need to take a step back and be like, oh, okay, and allow yourself to, the feelings of, I should be working harder. Sometimes it's not the best option. Sometimes it's that take that little step back and just realize where you're at. Yeah.
That's not great. I think I need to take on a bit more of that advice and reflect a little bit more myself, because sometimes, by the time you think about reflecting, you're like, I should have done that months ago. Let's carry on. Just keep going.
Hard out, bro. Hard out. Oh, man.
Oh, bother. It's hectic though, man. It's just sometimes you're just like, we'll get there. Whatever happens, it happens. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's the beauty of it, right? Just let things flow and evolve however it should.
Yeah. Hard out. It's going with the flow.
So, what are some of your future endeavors that you're sort of looking to get yourself involved in over the next, I don't know, let's say 3-4 years?
Yeah. I mean, like at the moment, I'm really hoping to get kind of my current business off the ground, I guess. So Maxwell Productions. I guess the name has a bit of a whakapapa to people around South Taranaki, and I'm hoping in me kind of giving this name to a Māori kaupapa, it's changing the narrative a little bit. So since it is my name as well, I thought I'd try and do my best to make it a positive name. So Maxwell Productions, name of my business, out there trying to do photography, videography for events and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, that's going to be the biggest thing for me, is trying to make that full time. And I mean, like, things look good, but I'm always like keeping myself in check, always got those reflective processes happening, because it's a bigger step than potentially I have ever taken. So yeah, that's the big thing. I think over the next wee while as well, I'm really trying to invest more time in people that potentially aren't as people that don't have the kind of access that I do to like technology. And I grew up with a PlayStation 2, and that's all we had for a long time. But even though PlayStation 3 and 4 was out, it's like there was still fun as. So I think spending time with people that, I guess the thing that lit the fire for me and pushed me in my right direction was, video games. So I want to do something in the video game space, I reckon, whether that's communities and coming together just to play some video games, or, who knows. But I think that's probably another avenue that I want to look at too.
Oh, that'd be sick. I'll rate that, man. You got so much to take out of that. I guess we'll dive first into the video games then, because myself, avid gamer. Too bad I got no time. Like when you're a kid, all the time, all the games. As you get older, all the games, and you got all the consoles, but no time.
Bro, yeah. Like right now it's like school holidays for kids and stuff. I'm like, man, I wish.
Brotherhood, man. I got a PS5 sitting over there collecting dust.
Bro.
I've always had this vision here in Aotearoa where we could like create this massive warehouse and just call it like the game factory or something, and just set up, PCs, consoles, and just upstart the next like generation of esports athletes and streamers, just all on the vibe, trying to start their own thing in this world of video games. Because,
Yeah.
there's so many kids jamming video games now because it's safer than playing real sports, because they actually test for concussions in kids these days. So rugby and league are kind of out of the question after a few head knocks. So everyone really just turns to video games.
Yeah, bro. Hard out. Like my I was playing rugby, like, yeah, for until, I can't even remember when I stopped playing, but played rugby until I was an adult. and then kind of realized that like the injuries and the amount of time it takes is like probably not worth, like I'm not going to be an All Black really. So if I stopped enjoying it, then I was going to probably jump out. And then found video games as well, and like started playing like competitive Call of Duty and things like that. And I was like, oh, bro, this gives me like that competitive fire again. It's kind of cool. And yeah, like working out how to make the best play possible at a certain time. But then there's also this just like raw talent aspect that's in there too, which I probably don't have anymore. But like back in the day, watching like Optic Gaming and kind of these like uh, esports organizations, there was like another avenue that kind of sparked that want to do video and photography. Like seeing these events and seeing how these people can make videos and play video games and get paid, I was like, well, it is doable. Clearly, like these guys are doing it. How do we work that out? So like that's kind of yeah, like how I ended up liking video games so much that it gave me a job, I guess. Like it's possible. What the heck?
Fatherhood, anything is possible these days.
Yeah, straight up.
What's some of your go-to games? You mentioned Call of Duty. What else do you jam, brother?
Call of Duty, definitely. It's like even though it's been a couple average years, like I think it's still gonna be on the consistently grab it list. But I've been watching and almost buying Diablo 4 and
Ooh.
Only Up. Like I've seen Only Up pop up quite a bit. That's been like going crazy. Fortnite as well. Every now and then I'll jump on some Fortnite.
Are your builds or no builds?
Oh, no builds. Like I'm well and truly like, you know, I play controller still, so like unless I can pick up like how to build like crazy all of a sudden, like that skill gap is just too big now. So yeah, but you know, I got the battle royales, like the mentality, you know. Yeah.
Fatherhood, bro. Nah, some of these kids, man, they can build like that. I'm like, nah, I ain't playing Sky Tower with you. Just kill me, man.
Yeah, far out. There's some crazy ones out there. Like there was a time where we like I was actually involved with like an esports organization, and we had like a Fortnite team, and bro, these kids are crazy. Like it's actually insane. It, yeah, like there's like I even know some people now that like the training up their kids to be the next like Call of Duty players or the next Fortnite players, and like they're actually insane. Like I can't not see them doing well because they're just so much better than anything I've ever seen. You know, it's awesome.
Holy heck. Bro, imagine if we had that. Imagine if we had that coming through esport academies, man.
Bro, that would be crazy.
I think some of the strangest, well, not strangest, but the sickest thing that I've seen is people transitioning from eSIM racing into like real GTE cars and things like that. I'm like, bro, what the heck?
How's that?
And they're actually competitive.
Yeah, bro.
There's a lot of money in it, man.
Yeah.
It's like, what now? Like with Maxwell Productions, what's the thinking behind that? What's the vision?
Well, I guess like something that I've found over my years of doing like photography and videography is that my style or my like the thing that I'm different with everybody else, I feel like anyway, is when it comes to actually like sitting down with the people and getting to know what they're about and what their event's about or what the deal is. A lot of the time people are just really there to get in, smash out a job, and you know that's that. Just you know go like that with the job and on to the next one. And a lot of people will appreciate that as well because it's you know the quick turnovers of things and all that kind of stuff. But I think my patience is like a massive virtue when it comes to working with our whānau because we'll potentially come across some like awkward situations where like some people might want to be doing some filming with some kaumātua and they haven't really ever been in front of a camera before or you know but they have this kōrero that's like rich as and we need to you know we need to kind of and like archive it or something you know having the patience to be able to sit there with them and like actually have them feel like it is just a conversation, like that's really rewarding for me, and that's something that I feel like I can bring to all kinds of different kaupapa, whether that's just sitting down with a client in a hui and they actually leave feeling like, oh, cool, yeah, nice. Or, actually being on site and interviewing someone, and that's kind of my vibe I think I bring to it. But our tagline thing is like creating taonga through visual storytelling. So it's to try and realize that what we're creating is taonga. It's not just like we just throw it up on the internet and throw it around wherever. It's like actually put some time and effort into it, and it's something that could be treasured for generations. So that's kind of our perspective. That's what we want to really bring to the space. Just a real care for the craft as well as the people that we're doing it with, because that's the important thing.
Oh, that's on. That's on. And you can definitely hear how it's more like a kaupapa Māori approach to it as opposed to like a business approach to things, because it is more about building those relationships. Like, even if it is just a one-off project, it's still about building that hononga, that connection,
Yeah.
so that you're able to tell it in a way that, what's the word I'm looking for? Not uplifts it, but that lives the essence in which that they're telling the story. Because you hear some people tell a story, and you're just like, man, the richness that's coming out of that corridor is just something that you can't re-describe to someone else, because you're just not going to hit the mark the same, eh?
Yeah, yeah. We definitely found that quite a bit with like there will be some kaupapa that come to you and they're really just keen for that Māori tick kind of thing, because it is there is a lot of push to be culturally competent and do things the right way and authentic, and it really does show when people are authentic or not, or just doing it to tick a box kind of thing. So yeah, and we've got this thing called titautanga as well, which we like to continue with. Like, even though we're there to be capturing and doing photos or videos or whatever we're asked to do on the job, like we're not above grabbing a tea towel and just mucking in with something, setting up chairs for a pool footy if there's something that needs to be done, and it's more important than capturing photos. That same thing again, like it's kind of weird because we're like in a way prioritizing something that isn't what we're doing to get paid for. So yeah, it's a bit weird, but in a way, like it's humanizing it, and you're bringing a person on instead of like just a camera that's going to capture something, and someone's going to be able to take something away from it a little bit more, I feel like.
Yeah, hard, especially in Tao Māori too. You can kind of tell when someone's bullshitting you.
Yeah.
And you can cut through it, eh? So it really is about, like I say, picking up their tea towel and spending some time out the back to let people know that you're real. Because I feel like some people think that they're above doing the dishes at the marae, that they're above, eating last and serving everyone else first. That, man, we all have our place. We all have our time in the kitchen to do those dishes.
100%, bro. It was something that I was lucky enough to sit down and have a cordial with one of the kaumātua down south, Bubba Thompson, who's passed away earlier this year. But it was something that really stuck with me with his cordial about like, never just come back and be better than the tea towel. Like, if you want to be reconnected with your marae, like I have tried to be, just pick up a tea towel. It's the best spot to start. Like, you go in there and you just help out where you can. You do what you can with what you can, The fact that it's more than just like turning up and doing a job, but it's also like letting you know that you are enough. Like, anybody can just come in and pick up a tea towel. It's not like you have to come back with all these skills and accolades and all these things for them to want you. Like, they just want you to just turn up, and if you're there, awesome. Like, that's it was something that stuck with me for a long time. I'm glad I get to like revisit that little memory. That's cool.
Hard. And the best stories happen in the kitchen too, whānau. If you need to know the gossip around town, kitchen. Grab that tea towel. Oh, brother, we've hit that time in the show where we dive into our shoebox. I call this the dream deposit box.
Ooh.
On the top here it says, always remember when they doubted you. And inside is everybody's dreams that has come on the show. We've got things like people want to grow within their reo. People want to, start and provide for their family. They want to own land. I want to finish my master's thesis, and so on and so on. So it's your turn, my bro, to put your dreams on a piece of paper and we'll bring these to life. So you can have up to 3, but yeah, what would you like to have us put in this box? And one day when people start achieving their dreams, we'll hang them up the back there, or photos, or just little mementos of them achieving those dreams.
Oosh. Yeah. Oh, shucks. Okay. Well, firstly, I think like being full time in my business will probably be one of the things that like is something that I can picture happening, and if I can, see it happening, then potentially it's something I can achieve in the near future, hopefully. So being full time at Maxwell Productions, that would be mean. I guess it's weird because I'm not often thinking about like what I want necessarily. I'm always thinking about what those around me, because I feel like if I'm doing well, then that means that other people around me should be doing well. So I guess if my whānau are back on their marae, they come with me to kaupapa, I think that would be a massive thing for me, because it shows that they're at a time and place where they're ready to make the same step that I did, and potentially they've reached out to me. So a dream would be to be able to go back to my marae with my whānau.
Yeah.
And last one, okay, so I reckon this, I reckon since 99 Dreams is going to be like a long-term thing, we can check in on this one in like years and years time. But like, I'm hoping that my grandchildren are fluent in Te Reo.
Yes.
So it's, on one hand, there's the one generation that was 3 generations ago, so my koko, who lost Te Reo, who wasn't raised with Te Reo, who then told my father that there was, no value in Te Reo, who then raised me in a place that potentially doesn't realise that there's any value in Te Reo, to then being another 2 generations from there, fully fluent in Te Reo, involved in the culture and, thriving. So I reckon that would be me. And we'll check back when I've got grandkids, bro.
Brotherhood. We'll bring this one back up. It'll come out of the archives.
Yeah, legend, bro. That'd be pretty sick.
Brotherhood. No, I love that, bro. That's awesome, man. And that's definitely one we will check up on.
Yeah, me.
When 99 Dreams takes off, brother, we'll have to link up and get you some mahi with us.
Yo, yeah, keen, bro.
Film some footage with us, my bro. And I can't wait for these dreams of yours to come true, my bro. These are definitely ones I'm looking forward to pulling out of the deposit box and ticking off and saying we made these come true.
Yeah, bro. Man, that's cool.
That's so sick, brother. And thank you so much for sharing those dreams, because it's so hard sometimes to share your dreams because no one really asks about them, or they whakaiti your dreams, and then you're like, well, what's the point in even having them anymore? But here at 99 Dreams, we love celebrating other people's dreams, and we really want to see them achieved, because what's life without achieving your dreams and your goals and your aspirations, right?
Yeah, always be striving, set yourself up for a better tomorrow.
100%.
I don't know.
Yeah, brother. And going off inspirational is this new part that I created, because this is technically the first guest for season 2, which is what is something you? Sorry, I ought to read it because I wrote this down and I thought this is probably good. I hope, but what is something you do or want to do that will inspire our rangatahi to chase their dreams?
Wow. Yeah, I guess if I kind of put like the rangatahi version of myself out there somewhere, and if I was like this kid this rangatahi, I feel like, oh yeah, that's tough actually. I thought I had an answer. I thought things were going to come to me as I started saying that, but bro, I hope that people realize that even if you're disconnected from culture, even if you're, um, you don't have your language, you haven't been back to your marae, you haven't done these things that people talk about, and um, all that kind of stuff. There's still places for you in Te Ao Māori. Like, it's not the kind of thing that's like you don't need prerequisites, you don't need this, you don't need that. Like, if you're Māori, that's it. Like, the amount of times that I've heard people asking about, like, oh, so how much are you 1/4? And, like quantifying it, it's like, nah. If you whakapapa Māori, that's it. That's all you need to be able to, go back to your marae and start asking questions and, find out where you're from. So if there's a rangatahi out there that's like me, like what I was, I just hope that they would also see that there is value in it, because even though some people say that there's not, there's definite value in knowing where you're from, and chase those dreams.
There's nothing stronger in life than having a strong sense of identity and who you are. And I reckon it all starts with, where we come from whom we descend. And like you say, nothing can quantify how much Māori you are. Like, I'm not a freaking scoop of chips at the fish and chip shop. I don't know how much. Shit, I am. Shit.
Yeah, because I remember when when my koko passed away, we're looking through some of his things and we found a birth certificate, and on there had his original birth name, which was Puano, and so I carry his middle name, which was Te Aputari, but it was mispronounced or misspelt somewhere down the line as Te Aputauri or something like that. So there's all kinds of little things that, like, you don't actually realize that you're so much more connected than you realize. But on that birth certificate, it literally says, like, child of quarter caste Māori, and all these things that, like, quantify how Māori you are, and there's no reason for it other than to see how close they are to not being Māori. So it's when you realize that, and when people try to quantify it, you can just stay strong and just be like, I'm Māori, that's it.
Brotherhood, hey, if you want to quantify it, 1/3 Taranaki iwi, 1/3 Te Atiawa, 1/3 Ngāti Maru. That's how we quantify how Māori I am. Hey, so stay strong, whānau. It is tough, but I think with the progression of our world that we're in now, we are a lot more accepting of one another, and we strive to welcome everyone onto this journey, because it's such a beautiful one. Once you begin, you really won't want to get off, whānau. One last question before we let you go, my bro, and this is one of the last deep ones we get into, is if you could, rewind this video in 10 years, and if you could say something to yourself in 10 years' time, look in the camera and just say, "Kia ora, Max, blah, blah, blah." What is that something that you would like to say to yourself in 5 to 10 years?
Yeah. Buzzy. See, I struggle with this kind of stuff a little bit, just because, like, I never really think about what my life is going to be like. It's always about others. It's always about making sure others are taken care of and all that kind of stuff. But if I was to look at this video in 10 years' time, I guess, like, the message to them is, like, just keep having fun. Like, doesn't matter how old you get. Like, I really hope that there is still this kind of, like, this joke that's always running in my mind, that it's never like a serious moment with me. And no matter how serious the situation is, like, you can always just be like, we need to be having fun. Because if the biggest sign that you're learning something is if you can have a laugh about it, because you understand it to the point that you can make a joke of it. So for me, if there's a version of me 10 years in the future that isn't laughing and isn't having fun, then potentially I'm already gone, and that's But hopefully not. Yeah.
Max, if you're not smiling, you're not happy, you're not laughing, sort your shit out.
Yeah, exactly.
Bring it on back, brother. Bring it back, man. Nah, that's awesome, brother, and that's huge too, because sometimes life happens, and just things that are out of our control happen, and you lose a sense of who you are, or that piece of you that is that spark, and it's important to hold on to that wherever possible. So that is great. Cordon or to hold for yourself in the future to come back on, because myself, I could be down that road where we ain't smiling and having a good time, we're not achieving our dreams anymore, so you never know. We never know. That's awesome. And I just want to say a huge mihi to you, brother. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Really do appreciate it. Love the pour time, my bro. Love that pour time.
Same, I love it too, bro. It's me.
Hey, brother, appreciate you, man. And thank you so much for jumping on. We'll definitely have to link up sometime. I got quite a few mates down there in Ōtautahi, so I'll definitely make the trip down there sometime, and I'll link up with you. Or next time you're back home in Taranaki, let me know, and we'll definitely link up with that.
Bro, 100%. I'm keen as. Let's do it.
Yeah, bro, keen. Is there anything you want to leave the whānau with at home that are listening or watching on YouTube? Is there anything that you want to say before you get going?
Nah, just I guess nā taku mihi mai hoa ki a koe e hoa. Thank you very much for this opportunity to just sit down and have a kōrero. The wānanga process is something that I'm still coming to grips with, since I wasn't really raised with it, and just being okay with sharing thoughts, there's so much in this for me. I'm going to take away from this, and your cool little dreams boxes, and the fact that you're bringing that to people. I think it's such a cool kaupapa, bro. So on one hand, I'm mean gears, just out the gate as mean as content, awesome. So I'm following the journey and stuff, and then next thing I know, I'm getting hit with what are your dreams? And I'm like, whoa, okay, there's levels to this. So
there's levels to this, brother.
Big mihis to you, bro, and to all the whānau up there, putting these mean kaupapa together. So
we appreciate you here, brother, and welcome to the 99Dreams whānau e hoa. Plenty of room here at the table for you, my cousin. I'm looking forward to seeing how your journey plays out too, my bro. I can't wait to see Maxwell Productions in full effect. I can't wait to, see you guys doing what you do best out on the biggest stages of all. And, I can't wait to you bring your kaupapa back up home to Taranaki, and see you around up here, my bro, because it's going to be on.
Yo, yeah, 100%, bro. Keen as.
Well, whānau, we've reached the end of this podcast. This has been amazing. That's Max Tiweka. I'll leave all his social links down below, so you can go check the bro out. Don't forget, cop these portai. They are dropping on the 12th of July, 6 p.m. New Zealand time. Get in, whānau. We have limited stock. We once they run out, that's it. These ones are done. We're moving on. So don't miss out. Look, they got cool whakatauki on the back. So get in on that, whānau. But like I said, shout out to the brother Max for jumping on. This has been an amazing podcast. Thank you so much, e hoa. This has been on whānau. Take care, and until next time, mōri ora.